The Magic Mirror. A long, long time ago, before the white men were seen in Senna, there lived a man called Gopana Kufa. One day, as he was out hunting, he came upon a strange sight. An enormous python had caught an antelope and had coiled itself around it. The antelope, striking at the despair with its horns, had pinned the python's neck to a tree, and so deeply had its horns sunk in the soft wood that neither creature could get away. "Help!" cried the antelope, "for I was doing no harm, yet I have been caught, and would have been eaten if I had not defended myself." "Help me," said the python, "for I am Mensato, king of all the reptiles, and will reward you well." Gopanakufa considered for a moment. Then, stabbing the antelope with Sasagi, he set the python free. "I thank you," said the python. "Come back here with the new moon, and I shall have eaten the antelope, and I will reward you as promised." "Yes," said the dying antelope, "he will reward you, and no, your reward shall be your own undoing." Gopani Kufa went back to his kraal, and with the new moon he returned to the spot where he had saved the python. And Sato was lying upon the ground, still sleepy from the effects of his huge meal. And when he saw the man, he thanked him again and said, "Come with me now to Pita, which is my own country, and I will give you what you will of all my possessions." Gopana Kufo at first was afraid, thinking of what the antelope had said, but finally he consented and followed Insato into the forest. For several days they traveled, and at last they came to a hole leading deep into the earth. It was not very wide, but large enough to admit a man. "Hold on to my tail," said Insato, "and I will go down first, drawing you after me." The man did so, and Insato entered. Down, down, down they went for days. All was getting deeper and deeper into the earth until at last the darkness ended and they dropped into a beautiful country. Around them grew short green grass, on which browsed herds of cattle, sheep, and goats. In the distance, Gapani Kufa saw a great collection of houses, all square and built of stone, and very tall, and the roofs were shining with gold and burnished iron. Gopani Kufta turned to Ansato, but found in the place of the python a man, strong and handsome, with a great snakeskin wrapped around him for covering, and on his arms and neck were rings of pure gold. The man smiled. "I am Ansato," he said, "but in my own country I take a man's shape, even as you see me, for this is Pita, the land over which I am king." He then took Gupani Gufta by the hand and led him towards the town. On the way there they passed rivers in which men and women were bathing and fishing and boating, and farther on they came to gardens covered with heavy crops of rice and maize, and many other grains which Gopani Kufa did not even know the name of. And as they passed, the people who were singing at their work in the fields abandoned their labors and saluted Insato with delight, bringing also palm wine and green coconuts for refreshment, as to one returned from a long journey. "These are my children," said Insato, waving his hand towards the people. Gopani Kufta was much astonished at all he saw, but he said nothing. Presently they came to the town. Everything here, too, was beautiful, and everything that a man might desire he could obtain. Even the grains of dust in the streets were gold and silver. And Sato conducted Gopana Kufa to the palace, showing him his rooms and the maidens who would wait upon him, and told him they would have a great feast that night, and on the morrow he might name his choice of the riches in Pita, and it should be given to him. Then he was away. Now, Gopani Kufa had a wasp called Zingimizi. Zingy was not an ordinary wasp, for the spirit of the father of the Pani Kufa had entered it, so that it was exceedingly wise. In times of doubt, Gopani Kufa always consulted the wasp as to what can be better done. So on this occasion he took it out with a little rush basket in which he carried it, saying, Zimgimizi, what gift shall last in Sato tomorrow when he would know the reward he shall bestow upon me for saving his life? Zingazimizi, asking for zip out of the mirror. And then it flew back into its basket. Gopani Kufa was astonished with this answer, but knowing the words of Zinguzi Mizi were true words, he determined to make the request. So that night they feasted, and on the morrow Sato came to Gopani Kufa, and giving him a greeting joyfully, he said, Now, my friend, name your choice amongst my possessions, and you shall have it. O king, answered Gopani Kufa, out of all your possessions, I will have the mirror, Sipao. The king started. Oh, friend Gopani Kufa, he said, ask anything but that. I did not think that you would request that which is most precious to me. Let me think it over again, O king, said Gopani Kufa, and tomorrow I will let you know if I change my mind. But the king was still much troubled, fearing the loss of Sipao, for the mirror had magic powers, so that he who owned it but had to ask, and his wish would be fulfilled. To it Sato owed all that he possessed. As soon as the king left him, Gopani Kufa again took Zingy Mizi out of the basket. Zingy Mizi, he said, the king seems loth to grant me the request for the mirror. Is there not some other thing equal of value for which I might ask? And the wasp answered, There is nothing in the world, O Gopani Kufa, which is such a value as this mirror, for it is a wishing mirror, and accomplishes the desire of him who owns it. If the king hesitates to him the next day, and the day after, and in the end he will bestow the mirror upon you, for you saved his life. And it was even so. For 3 days Gopani Kufa returned the same answer to the king, and at last, with tears in his eyes, Sato gave him the mirror, which was of polished iron, saying, Take the panel then, O Gopani Kufa, and may thy wishes come true. Now go back to thine own country. Sipao will show you the way. Gopani Kufa was greatly rejoiced, and taking farewell of the king, he said to the mirror, Sipao, Sipao, I wish to be back upon the earth again. Instantly he found himself standing upon the upper earth, but, not knowing the spot, he again said to the mirror, Sipao, Sipao, I want the path to my own kraal. And behold, right before him lay the path. When he arrived home, he found his wife and daughter mourning for him, for they thought he had been eaten by the lions. But he comforted them, and saying that while following a wounded antelope, he had missed his way, and had wandered for a long time before he had found his path again. That night, Zingy Mizi, in whom sat the spirit of his father, what he had better ask the pile for next. Bzz, said the wasp. Would you not like to be as great a chief as Zato? And Gopani Kufa smiled, and took the mirror, and said to it, Zapao, Zapao, I want a town as great as that of Sato, the king of Pita, and I wish to be chief over it. Then all along the banks of the Zambezi River, which flowed nearby, sprang up streets of stone buildings, and the roofs shone with gold and burnished iron like those in Pita. And in the streets men and women were walking, and young boys were driving out the sheep and cattle to the pasture, and from the river came shouts and laughter from young men and maidens who had launched their canoes and were fishing. And when the people of the new town beheld Gopani Kufa, they rejoiced greatly and hailed him as chief. Gopani Kufa was now as powerful as Nzato, the king of the reptiles, had been, and he and his family moved into the palace that stood high above the other buildings, right in the middle of town. His wife was too astonished at all the wonders to ask any questions, but his daughter Shaza kept begging him to tell her how he had suddenly become so great. So at last he revealed the whole secret, and even entrusted Zapow the mirror to her care, saying, "It will be safe with you, my daughter, for you dwell apart, whereas men come to consult me on affairs of state, and the mirror might be stolen." Then Shazza took the magic mirror and hid it beneath her pillow, and after that, for many years, Gopani Kufa ruled his people both well and wisely, so that all the men loved him. Never once did he need to ask Zapayo to grant him a wish. Now, it happened that after many years, when the hair of Gopani Kufa was turning gray with age, there came white men to the country. Up the Zambezi they came, and they fought long and fiercely with Gopani Kufa, but because of the power of the magic mirror, he beat them back, and they fled to the seacoast. Chief among them was one Ray, a man of much cunning who sought to discover what sprang Gopani Kufa's power. So one day he called to him a trusty servant named Batao, and said, "Go you to the town and find out from me what the secret is of its greatness." And Batao, dressing himself in rags, set out, and when he came to Gopani Kufa's town, he asked for the chief, and the people took him to the presence of Gopani Kufa. While the man saw him, he humbled himself and said, "Oh, chief, take pity on me, for I have no home. When Ray marched against you, I stood alone apart, for I knew all the strength of Zambezi lay in your hands. Because I would not fight against you, he turned me forth into the forest to starve." And Gopani Kufa believed the white man's story, and he took him in and feasted him, and gave him a great house. In this way the end came, for the heart of Shazza, the daughter of Gopani Kufa, went forth to Batao the traitor, and from her he learned the secret of the magic mirror. One night, when all the town slept, he felt beneath her pillow, and finding the mirror, he stole it and fled back with it to Ray, the chief of the white men. So it befell that, one day, as Gopani Kufa was gazing up at the river from a window of the palace, he saw again the war canoes of the white men, and at the sight his spirit misgave him. "Shasa, my daughter," he cried wildly, "go fetch me the mirror, for the white men are at hand." "Woe is me, my father," she sobbed. "The mirror is gone, for I left Batao, the traitor, and he has stolen Sabao from me." Then Gopani Kufa calmed himself, and drew out Zingezi Mizi from the rush. "O spirit of my father," he said, "what shall I do now?" "Gopani Kufa," whispered the wasp, "there is nothing now that can be done, for the words of the antelope which slew you are being fulfilled." "Alas, I am an old man, I had forgotten," cried the chief. "The words of the antelope were true words. My reward shall be my undoing. They are being fulfilled." Then the white men fell upon the people of Gopani Kufa and slew them together with the chief and his daughter Saza. And since then all the power of the earth has rested in the hands of the white men, for they have in their possession Zapao, the magic mirror.